And that's right, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Kramer, joined by my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin. And Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing fine. It's weird seeing while walking Mr. Maloonigan somebody calling this shirt vintage. This shirt I've had since the 90s.
Well, that would make it vintage, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it's weird seeing a shirt I bought back as a teenager. This shirt being called vintage. It just feels
I
weird
hear
it
you.
being called vintage.
I hear you. I hear you. And yeah, man, we definitely got a lot going on today. There's a ton of things going on right now in New York sports. So I want to thank everybody hanging out with us here on this Thursday night on X and YouTube. And yeah, man, we got the Mets on a nice 6-game winning streak, getting real hot at the perfect time as they're going to be rolling into some tough competition after they got the Rays this weekend. And we got the Yankees out in Kansas City taking care of business. The Knicks on a bad run right now, getting denied left and right for their coach. They're trying to fill the position after they fired Tom Thibodeau last week. And then we also got the New York Rangers trading one of the most iconic players and one of the best players in franchise history. We'll get into all that in a little bit, Dan, but I think the place to start with this one is with the Mets. Let's kick this thing off right now.
Yeah,
As yeah,
this one feels like a win, but a defeat because Singa's out. And I'm just, why does this fucking happen with this team? Always.
well, it's true, man. It seems like this team definitely has been taking a lot of shots over this season. There's been plenty of injuries, but they always just seem to pick themselves up off the mat whenever whatever the problem is. They figure out a way to solve it. They figure out a way to get past it. And hey, we'll talk about the Senga injury in a sec, but what a great win today. What a great gritty series this was against the Nationals. The Mets went out to Denver. Actually, on the last road trip, they went out to LA and split those 4 games. Then they went to Denver for the final leg of that trip and took all 3 games from the Rockies, one of the worst teams, not only in baseball this year, but in the history of baseball, at least their starts, historically bad. Everybody pretty much expected the Mets to take that. It would have been a disappointment not to, but hey, you still have to get it done. We even saw a couple of weeks ago the Yankees managed to drop one to the Royals. Nothing is guaranteed. To the Rockies. Nothing is guaranteed in baseball. And so it was good to see the Mets make that happen last weekend in Denver. And it's the same thing with the Nationals. You could say the Nationals are as bad a team as you want, and they're definitely not a great team. But, let's be fair to the Nationals. Coming into this series, they started off the year 1-6. Since that point, since that bad 7-game start, they're 29-29. So they've been one of the better teams, or at least one of the more, I guess you can't say better. So I'll say they've been mediocre, which is better than you'd expect them to be. And they've been 500. They've been a very competitive team. We've seen that their offense has gotten hot at times. Obviously, the Mets kind of got lucky. The Nationals offense had been slumping majorly coming into this series, and the Mets were able to take advantage of that, most notably in the form of the David Peterson first ever complete game shutout yesterday. That was a lot of fun to watch. But then look, the Mets gritted out a tough win on Tuesday night. They were down 4-2 late, came back, scratched out 2 to tie it, and ended up taking the game in the bottom of the 10th off the bat of Jeff McNeil. And then today, they end up, getting the 4-0 lead. Senga's cruising. He suffers that injury, and then they gut it out to a 4-3 win. So, say what you want, Dan. The Mets are taking care of business right now.
Yeah, that's true. I got to be kind of. Also, I'm hoping it's not a bad thing. I heard it looks like a hamstring, but I'm hoping it's nothing more than maybe missing 1 or 2 starts.
All right, would have loved your thoughts on the win today, but let's just get to Senga then.
Yeah,
As Senga, man, the guy suffers the injury today in the 6th inning. Obviously, Pete Alonso, man, Senga went out of his way to try to make Alonso feel a little bit better about it. said he felt the pull of the hammy prior to the jump up with Alonso's bad flip that he's been pulling all year, man. And another bad throw by Alonso. This time it ends up costing us big time, as Kodai Senga, the guy who still, as we sit here right now, leads the National League in ERA. Just having a fantastic season all around. Looks like he hasn't missed a beat after missing basically all of last season. And for him to suffer this injury now is pretty bad. What we heard in the press conference following today's game from manager Carlos Mendoza is that it doesn't seem severe, but it's severe enough that they're going to place him on the IL tomorrow, no matter what happens. And they're also going to give him an MRI. So I think the Mets are making the right choice here. They're running away with things. There's no reason to try to pressure Senga into coming back before he's ready to go, or before you're 100% certain of how severe this injury is. Especially, too, Dan, we have to remember the Mets are going to be getting back 2 pitchers soon, as we see Frankie Montas is due to make another rehab start tomorrow, and he could make even 1 or possibly even 2 more rehab starts after that, before he has to come back and the 30-day clock runs out. And Sean Manaea just made his 2nd start, so he's still got plenty of time left on that clock, and they could bring him back whenever they feel he's ready. But one of these guys is going to be chomping at the bit to get back in the rotation, and they even have Paul Blackburn to fall back on right now too, who has been very effective in the start that he had in LA and coming in relief on Sunday in Colorado. So, the Mets have a lot of pitching right now, Dan, and as much as this Senga injury hurts and as annoying as it is right now, I think it could be a lot worse if it was one of our everyday guys. I think the pitching, they'll figure out a way to make it work. Oh, hold on, Dan. Sorry, your sound cut out.
It's not a bad injury. If it was worse, then it'd be a problem, I feel like. Because I just feel like this is like one of those things that we need Senga back. We need him at least back around July to have him have enough time to get that he can pitch. He can pitch the full distance during the playoffs, not something that's just trying to rush back. We don't want to have to see him have to pitch a rush job during the playoffs like what happened during last year, and it showed it was a rush job.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's definitely true. And the other thing too is that at least when it comes to Senga's injury, there's no reason to rush him, like you said. You just got to take your time, let him come back. To be honest, at this point, if you want to let him miss he's got to miss at least 10 days now if they place him on the IL, that's not the worst thing in the world. That means you're looking at, by the end of June, him coming back. No, that's not too bad. Let's let him take his time, get that hamstring correct, and let's just keep our fingers crossed that nothing else comes back in the MRI tomorrow, because you just got to remember that just because they're saying right now that it doesn't seem too severe, they're pretty much saying the same thing last year, and Senga missed the entire year. So you really can't count on what they're saying right now. It's really going to come back to what they see on the MRI tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. It's all gonna come down to what they see in MRI tomorrow, and we'll find out tomorrow while we're watching the Mets pregame.
Exactly, you're right.
Leading up to the game, we'll find out then. That's when we're gonna find out everything, and we'll see how it goes. And of course, there's some news that really, really annoyed me. Chris Kreider being traded frustrated me.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. Thinking? We'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, I'm with you. But I understand what he's thinking. But we'll get into all that in a little bit. Let's finish up with the Mets here. And also, I did want to take a look at our chat here. Give a shout out to Marcus Kramer. Hey, I like the last name, buddy. Hanging out with us in the chat, saying, "Is this a weekly show? Is it always this daytime?" Yes. We used to do it on Wednesdays. Now Thursday, 7 p.m. is our new start time. So we'll be here live every Thursday at 7 p.m. So thank you, Marcus, for hanging out with us here on this Thursday night. And Dan, yeah, man. I mean, let's keep it rolling along here, talking some Mets. As one thing that has continued to be seen this year over and over again is that as great of a bat as Pete Alonso has provided for the Mets, and he definitely has. And Alonso does a lot of great things defensively too. He moves around pretty well there. His footwork's pretty good. He's great at picking the ball from the short throws from shortstop and third base. But the one thing that is rearing its ugly head this year are his throws to first base, and we've seen it time and time again this year. He's put the pitchers in some bad situations. He's made a lot of bad throws, and today was the worst of that scenarios where it didn't cost the Mets a run in the moment or anything, but it cost the Mets their best starting pitcher at this point right now. So, what do you think, Dan? Is there anything concerning you about Alonso's defense seemingly kind of, I mean, well, maybe not so much his overall defense, but at least this aspect of it?
I'm not really concerned. I just have a feeling more than not he'll get that play made.
But we've seen it time and time again this year where he hasn't been able to do it.
Yeah.
Even the throws to home plate have been bad.
I'm hoping he just finally eventually gets around and doesn't do this, because that does get me nervous. That I'm hoping he could finally get out of that funk and in those plays.
Yeah, I mean, he's either going to make this play in a big spot where it's going to cost the Mets, at the least a run, if not more, or he's once again going to put his pitcher in a situation where that guy could get hurt. Whether he's leading the guy into the runner, the guy's getting spiked at first base, he's going too high to try to get it and maybe tweaks a hamstring, as we saw this afternoon. So there's a lot of bad things that you could get out of the way Alonso has been making these plays.
Yeah, I think he needs to work on that play a bit more.
Yeah, get Keith Hernandez out there with him and start making those plays again. Because Alonso, the funny thing is prior to this year, I don't really remember that being an issue for Pete. Pete's always been a pretty decent defender. When he was first breaking into the league in his rookie year and the first year or two after that, there were a lot of people complaining about his defense, but he's usually been pretty reliable. And the fact that he is in this situation right now where we really don't know, when there's a ball hit the first base, how exactly Pete's going to play this. It's something that he really has to work on and make sure that this is not something that's going to keep showing itself all season long, which unfortunately so far it has.
Yes, hold on.
All right.
Hold on. All right. But yeah, hopefully he gets over this hump, especially down the stretch run.
Yeah, we're still a little bit off from the stretch run, but yeah, I hear what you're saying, and he's going to have to figure it out.
Yeah, and I just feel like the further it gets into the season, the more and more this feels like a playoff team. And right now in June, it's really starting to feel like that. I mean, you're in this position at June. It's looking more and more like that. The possibility.
Yeah, and the Mets right now are 21 games over 500, 45 and 24, best record in baseball, and the second best start in this many games, whatever it is, 68, 69 games, in Met history. The 86 team had the best start. Now this team has the second best start. And it's just incredible the way this team's been playing. The best team in the league at home too. Now 27 and 7 at Citi Field, 20 games over 500 at home, and it's not even July yet. This just goes to show how great this team has been playing, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. And also, he's still in the living room. I left him in the living room, the living room grimace, but the producer. But I gotta say, happy birthday to the grimace. You gotta wish a happy birthday to the grimace, who carried
the 1 year anniversary, right?
Yep, who's carried the Mets to a lot of great momentum since then.
Yeah, and as you can see in our theme song, when we first start off, we show in that theme song the Grimace's first pitch here and his foray into New York Mets folklore as the Grimace. Now, it's been a full year. It's crazy to think that, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I wish I knew someone who to contact to have an appearance somewhere for the Grimace because I I want to find out where the heck I can get a photo up with the Grimace because I want to give the Grimace a hug. I got to give the
he,
Grimace a hug.
he deserves it, no doubt about it. And you know who else deserves a hug, Dan, right now? I got to give a big shout out to the Mets center fielder, Tyrone Taylor.
Yeah,
This guy
yeah,
made
that
another
is.
phenomenal catch today, and he's been doing it every time you turn around. Not only in that, for making these incredible catches that he seems to do every day, but let's not forget, even in the complete game shutout yesterday that David Peterson threw, he threw a guy out with an absolute strike to first base, a 91-mile-an-hour strike from center field, and he gunned the guy down at home plate to keep the shutout intact for David Peterson. So that was a huge play. And this guy, his bat kind of leaves a lot to be desired at times, but his defense is just incredible, and that's worth its weight in gold.
Yeah, exactly. Basketball and football. They're not the same ESPN we grew up with in the 90s.
No, it's definitely not the old ESPN. You're right about that, my friend. But Dan, too, let's keep it rolling here. And I got to give a lot of credit too. So I wonder where all the people are that were so worried about Juan Soto. Where are you guys? Are you still that upset about
Okay.
Juan Soto? And all right, Bo had to run off for a sec. He'll be back momentarily. We'll have him back after he takes care of whatever he has to do. But I want to give a shout out to the people that were so worried about Juan Soto, because the guy, you know, when he came here, sure, he had a bad April. The first couple of weeks here weren't too bad, but as the month drew on, you could tell he was kind of struggling. There was a lot of pressure on him, I guess he must have felt like. But let's take a look at Juan Soto over his last 15 games, because Juan Soto has just been locked in. We've seen it. 327, 5 home runs, and 10 RBIs over his last 15 games. This guy has really kicked his ass into gear. And this is what, we knew was going to be the case with Juan Soto. And let's not just say, I heard some people trying to downplay it, saying he beefed up his numbers against the Rockies and the Nationals over the last couple of games. And while he did have good series against those two teams, you got to remember there are 7 games against the Dodgers thrown in there too. So he had really good games against the Dodgers. Remember, he had a big home run at Dodger Stadium as well. He had a big home run the other day in the opener of this series where, the Mets went immediately down 3-0 as we're being rejoined by Bobo here. But yeah, Dan, we're talking about how good Juan Soto has been lately, or I guess we immediately lost him again. But he'll be back on in a second. But yeah, so you know, um, especially like in the opener on Tuesday here in this series against the Nationals, they go down 3-0. They're facing Mackenzie Gore. You're thinking to yourself, these guys dug themselves another hole they're going to have to pull themselves out of, and they cut it to 3-1. Next thing you know, Juan Soto puts one out to make it 3-2. And while it didn't bring them all the way back, it's just another example of Juan Soto getting more comfortable here, getting big hits. We saw it time and time again now over the last couple of days, and to the tune of, in the last 15 games, 327, 5 home runs, and 10 RBIs. Dan, Juan Soto has really kicked it into gear.
Yeah, he has, and he has kicked it into gear. I just have to say that is just unbelievable. He I just knew he was gonna come to form that what we expect. I
Yeah,
knew maybe it was gonna be he was probably getting a little bit of adjusted to be because I feel like the Mets it's an adjustment having to do what he did in this uniform. It is a big hill to climb, this uniform of the
yeah,
Mets alone. And I feel like he was in the right position. I feel like you didn't need to hit Panic City. It's not like the team was struggling. The team was in first place. They were in contention. So it's like he wasn't in the. I feel like it made it easier for him to break himself in to the being a Met. And I feel like he was around. I have to give credit, maybe Carlos Mendoza, his teammates. I feel like there were people around him that helped him get through this and helped him bounce back. And I knew he was going to bounce back out of this slump in such a big way.
Yeah, and one of the guys that he gave a lot of credit to with helping him relax and helping him feel comfortable in his own skin here in a Met uniform now is Starlin Marte. And I know a lot of Met fans have written Starlin Marte off over these first couple of months, even though I still think Marte serves his purpose on this club as the right-handed DH option. But the fact that Starlin Marte is now helping our best player essentially um, acclimate himself into a Met uniform. Once again, we're talking about things that are worth their weight in gold. Starlin Marte on the last year of his deal here right now, that's a guy that's worth his weight in gold as well.
Yeah, exactly. I have to give credit to Sterling Marte. He's another one that's been helping. He's helped Juan Soto adjust, and it's showing. And
Yeah.
I think if I'm correct, I think is it Sterling Marte? I think that's like Juan Soto's cousin or something like that. But how they're somehow related.
I don't think they're cousins. Maybe you're right. Maybe they're distant cousins, but I haven't heard anybody say that. So that's interesting if that's true. And Dan, another guy we got to give a lot of credit to for the Mets' recent, good run during this 6-game win streak and having won 8 of the last 10 and everything that's gone into it is Jeff McNeil. Not only did he hit the big 3-run home run today, he had the walk-off home run, the walk-off RBI single the other day in extra innings. Jeff McNeil has been getting the job done all over the place. He had a multi-home run game in Denver, and same thing. When you look at the last 15 games, when you have Juan Soto playing the way that we just showed, and now Jeff McNeil, 321, 5 home runs and 12 RBIs over that same stretch, obviously Pete's been going all year. Lindor's been doing his thing all year. But if you got guys like Jeff McNeil and Juan Soto going now too, this Met lineup can really be one of the best in baseball.
Yeah, exactly. So I got to give credit to that to McNeil. He's been getting the job done in a lot of big spots, and I think he's finally realized that he doesn't need to do too much. Doesn't need to go above his head for everything at the plate. Just play. He's playing up to his strength, and it's showing right now. As long as he keeps doing that, he'll be fine.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that's the good thing about McNeil too, is that his bat to ball skills are just off the charts. He is, obviously we've all heard how great of a golfer he is. So he's just got those skills, man. And you just gotta give credit to Jeff for when we went back in 2018, 2019, even 2020, Jeff McNeil was one of the best hitters on the club. He had a bad 21, comes back, wins the batting title in 22, and then he's just been really down in the dumps since then. So it's just really good to see. He started off, bad this year too, but he's got his average up to 270, and you could just tell by the way he's going right now that it's just going to keep going up and up and up.
Yeah, exactly, and that's showing, and he's finally rounding into form. And I gotta say, that's dog dad strength.
Yeah, Jeff McNeil with the famous dog dad. You're right about that.
Yeah, yep, exactly. We all remember seeing him all the posts and everything about his dog, and I even would see him on posting. He'd be on Twitch with his dog.
Yeah, you're right. I remember that too. So, all right, shout out to Jeff McNeil and his dog. And last thing on the Mets here now, on a 6-game winning streak, they've been on a tear. They've now opened up 5.5-game lead in the East. The Braves and the Phillies are starting to get a little bit smaller in that rearview mirror a little bit, which isn't too bad. Doesn't mean they're out of there. Let's not forget, the Mets had a 10-game lead on the Braves on June 1st in 2022, and that blew up in our face before the season was over. So let's not get too carried away. But you can feel pretty good about ourselves right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like the Mets need to keep going. Bite the head off the snake. strike first, strike hard, strike fast, no mercy. They need to keep doing what they're doing. Not
Yeah.
they,
And they're
they
going to have their opportunity too, Dan, because after this 3-game set coming up, we're going to talk about right now against the Tampa Bay Rays this weekend, they are going to have 10 consecutive games where the only teams they play are the Braves and the Phillies. So it's about to get real.
Yeah, exactly. They need to win every one of these series. Is what they
Oh,
need
no
to
doubt
do.
about it.
Every series
No,
they face, they need to win them.
yeah,
They need to
just
win
keep,
each of these series. Keep winning
yep,
series.
just keep
And
stacking up those series wins. You're right.
if you keep stacking up those series wins, you're gonna be fine the rest of the
Yeah,
way. That's exactly what the Mets need to do. Just keep stacking up those series wins. Bury them, bury the opponents. Just don't
yep.
kick them while they're down, and they'll be fine.
Exactly. And you're 100% right about that, Dan. And it all starts tomorrow, where the Mets can keep going on and try to stack up yet another series victory, where they're going to be taking on Taj Bradley, who's 4-5 with a 4.58 ERA, and Tampa Bay Rays, taking on the Mets and Clay Holmes tomorrow, 7-3 with a 2.95 ERA. First pitch is at 7:10 at Citi Field. So it's going to be another packed house. Even these weekend series, Daniel. Before we even really get into how great, um, you know, uh, before we even get into this weekend matchup, we have to really talk about this 3-game series against the Nationals. Dan, they drew 39,000 on Tuesday, 40,000 on Wednesday, and then 38,000 today. These are games in years past where we would see 25,000, in a bad year, 20,000. Like, to see this atmosphere and this excitement and these packed crowds every single night at Citi Field, it does a Met fan good to see that stuff, right? We, to
Yeah,
see the stadium packed is always a beautiful thing.
yeah, exactly. This is a beautiful thing. Keep it up. Keep the stadium packed. We need to see more of this.
Yeah,
We definitely need to continue to see more of this because I want to see the stadium. I want to see the stadium packed and full fans the rest of the way. You create that home field advantage.
yeah,
Just keep
it's true.
keep keep showing up. Finally, the fans are realizing show up, and they even had a pretty good turnout. It looked like for a game in the afternoon
Yeah, they had
on a weekday.
38,000 today on a weekday.
That
It's
that
and school's still in session too.
so that's how you could tell that this team is something special. If that they're still packing the stadium even on this day. The only
Yeah,
one that maybe the only one
yeah,
I noticed that maybe was a bit of a shocker of a low crowd, maybe was a couple of weeks ago. I went to a game, but that was probably because the game just the day before was moved to a day game. I was at a game that was supposed to be a night game that was moved to a day game
yeah. That I
because
mean, that was a
because of what
last
it was.
second. Yeah, that is you can that is an outlier because still the Mets announced attendance for that game that you went to that you're talking about was still 34,000 people. However, obviously that many people didn't show up, so a lot of those
Yeah,
people
yeah,
must have taken the vouchers that they were given. But yeah,
yeah,
you got to give
yeah.
credit, man.
Actually, if you attended that game, you still got the voucher.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
know.
so so
So
so so, so, so I ended up getting 2 for 1 on that. I ended up getting 2 for 1 on that game. So I ended up getting tickets to the game I went to on Monday. That was on that voucher. I went
very cool.
I went to that game on that voucher from another game that I got for attending in that for having attended another game. They just gave me a voucher, so I used it. And I got a couple more free ticket coupons that I'm waiting to see where when Pete Alonso might break the home run record to see if it's one of the eligible dates for that voucher. I might redeem it. That may increase the chances of me being there when he breaks the Mets all-time home run record.
Exactly. which he's only 9 away from now. So very cool stuff, Dan. And let's keep it rolling along here now too. We'll turn our attention to the Yankees now, as we round up stuff with the Mets. So for the Yankees now, Dan, Yankees have taken the first two from the Royals. They actually just started in Kansas City. First pitch was 7:40 local time here. So the Yankees are going for the sweep tonight. They've taken the first two against the Royals. We saw them beat down the Royals in game one. Then they won a tight game against them last night. But we've seen Aaron Judge just do absolute, just the nonsense that he continues to do. He is the best player in baseball by far. He is such an anomaly in today's game with the batting average, the home runs, the walks, the RBIs. He is on just a different level, kicking off this series with a 470-foot home run. So the guy is just incredible. And I just want to even take a closer look at this, Dan, because this is a stat that came out that I absolutely loved about Aaron Judge. So Aaron Judge in his team's first 66 games, and actually this is covering any 66 game span in the history of baseball. Aaron Judge and only one other player have ever had a 390 plus batting average, 25 plus home runs, 45 plus walks, and 5 plus stolen bases, which Aaron Judge has all of right now. The only other guy to ever do that in the history of baseball, George Herman Babe Ruth. That's right. And he did it in 1920, 1921, 1926, and 1930. So when you're in a class where the only two people are you and Babe Ruth, you've been doing some pretty ridiculous things with the bat.
Yeah, exactly. That's he is. He's just having a great. He's having a phenomenal season, and this is like a player that Yankee fans are going to look back at generations. So this is going to be the star player they remember. Like there was people that remember Derek Jeter. There's people that remember Miley before that. Those players. Like
Yeah.
this is the player that this generation of Yankee fans is gonna look back on when people ask future generations ask who were the big stars that they remembered they remember going. This is the guy they're gonna mention Aaron Judge without a doubt.
Yeah. And I mean,
And he
Aaron Judge now, like, you can literally include him alongside, and I know before this year you could have done that too, but um, the thing is, like, he is just going out there and solidifying his name against the all-time greats. When you talk about all-time great Yankees and all-time great Yankee outfielders, I mean, you're talking about right now, you know, Aaron Judge, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Joe DiMaggio. Like those obviously those are the iconics. The Yankees have a lot of great outfielders in their history. Obviously, even including up until recently, guys like Bernie Williams, Paul O'Neill, any of those guys that they've had. But you just have to give so much credit to Judge because he's surpassed all those guys, and he doesn't even have a ring yet. He's of the Yankee greats, he's probably the only one that doesn't have a ring, but it doesn't mean he won't get one. And it just goes to show how good he's done. Because for someone to overcome not getting a ring as a Yankee, you like Don Mattingly, for instance, where he'll never be the best first baseman in Yankee history. Obviously, Lou Gehrig has that locked up, but Don Mattingly was, you know, the best player in baseball for a long time. Don Mattingly was an iconic Yankee and etched his name onto that team. And Aaron Judge is doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. And he's almost solidified. He's very much earned already his little spot in the little monument park.
Yeah, he definitely has. And you could make the argument right now that he's, depending on where you want to put Babe Ruth, because Babe Ruth, obviously, everybody associates him as a Yankee, as a right fielder. But depending on which way you're gonna uh, configure that outfield, Aaron Judge could definitely, because you got to remember Judge also played center field. He also played right field, so he's definitely one of the best all time Yankee outfielders, and you'll never be able to take that away from him. especially with the ridiculous seasons he's had over the last couple of years. A couple other guys coming back for the Yankees now that we have to talk about, Dan, as Met fans' old friend Marcus Stroman, and also Met fans' old friend who used to destroy us with the Miami Marlins, Giancarlo Stanton, both beginning rehab assignments for the Yanks. So the Yankees still are one of the best teams in the American League. They're 41-25 coming to tonight's game. They're probably head and shoulders above everybody else right now. If you're going to make your list of the best American League teams, but they're looking to get even better now as you're going to be adding a, for the most part, reliable starter, even though we always have our questions about Marcus Stroman and how long he can keep it going. But Stroman is definitely going to be coming back, and one way or another will improve that rotation. And then Giancarlo Stanton's going to be coming back to provide a little bit more thump in the middle of that lineup behind Aaron Judge. So the Yankees are very good right now, and they're about to get even better than that in a couple of weeks when they get these guys back.
Yeah, exactly. And the big question is going to be how soon can they get up to speed? Because I feel like these guys haven't played big leagues. Like they're in a situation like they didn't get to ease into it, go through spring training and stuff. So they're going to be joining the team a little bit late, and they're going to have to get up to speed when everyone else has already gotten up to speed and gotten into midseason form. So that's going to be a big telling is how quick they can get. They can just get in that groove that we all talk about.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. So definitely a couple of big Yankees on the mend right now. And they're going for the sweep tonight in Kansas City, as we've been talking about. The Yankees will be facing former Met, and they're going to be throwing out their rookie pitcher out there. Will Warren's going to be going 4-3 record with a 5.34 ERA, taking them out tonight in Kansas City against former Met Seth Lugo, who had a breakout year as a starter last season. He's been pretty good this year, but the Royals haven't backed him up offensively as much as they'd like. He's 3-5 with a 3.46 ERA. So it certainly won't be easy for the Yankees against Lugo tonight. But this is a guy the Yankees have faced before. They saw him in the playoffs last year when these two teams met up in the postseason. And this is something that this is a type of pitcher that the Yankees are going to have to get past.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like this game could be very low scoring. Could come down to a couple of runs scored at a couple of big spots.
Well, the Yankees better hope it's low scoring because you're right about that. If the Yankees are going to win this game, it's probably going to be low scoring because you don't expect to get that many runs off of Seth Lugo, even though he hasn't been that great so far this season. But Will Warren has been bad, and Will Warren, as we saw, he got beat up real bad, even though he did get a win his last time out. But you got to remember the start before that where he didn't get out of the second inning and allowed 7 runs against that Dodgers offense. So the Yankees are really banking on Will Warren to keep it going, and they're going to have to try to scratch out a couple against Seth Lugo to complete the sweep in Kansas City at Kauffman Stadium. And then the Yankees, it is getting easier as we wrap up with them here, as the Yankees are getting ready for a weekend rematch against the Red Sox. Red Sox came into town last weekend to the Bronx and beat the Yankees 2 out of 3. The Red Sox 3 games under 500. They're still in the mix though. They're only a couple of games out of the wild card. So while things haven't gone perfectly for the Red Sox so far this year, they're still alive and in the mix. And obviously, we even saw a couple of weeks ago when the Mets went to Fenway, the Red Sox took 2 out of 3 from them. Even with as good as the Mets have been playing, just goes to show, it's always a difficult situation taking on that tough Red Sox team in Fenway. And the Yankees are going to have to hope to get over the hump against this team and at least take 2 out of 3 this weekend and return the favor.
Yeah, exactly. They got to do that, and they got to be ready because it's going to be. I feel like this series is going to be highly contested, and I feel like there's going to be a lot of booze consumed with all those bars near Fenway Park. So there's going to be fans on both ends. It's going to get very heated, probably. A couple of fans had, some fans that just overdo it. It can get a little crazy. So it's going to get very heated.
No
for
doubt
sure.
about it, man. And it's not gonna be easy for the Yankees on Friday night either. As if you think it's tough facing Seth Lugo tonight, it doesn't get any easier tomorrow. As they're going to be facing Garrett Crochet in Kansas City, as the Yankees lefty Ryan Yarbrough takes him on. So a big matchup of southpaws tomorrow night in Boston.
Yeah, exactly. And if you are attending the game, please go easy on the alcohol before the game. Please save it for after the game. All right. Last thing I want to hear is about things getting to be a little too out of hand in the same. All right. Save it for after the game. And
That's
if
the
you're trying
public.
to get
That's your public
yeah,
service
exactly.
announcement, right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to hear some people getting into fight because you can't control your liquor. Drink responsibly. All right. I understand. I understand. It's probably one of the most drunkest places before a game because trust me, I've been to Boston. I don't get it at these levels. I'm very cool, but I even when I've had a couple of drinks, I'm not overdoing it. But I've had I'll maybe have I'll have a beer or two after the game because I feel like it's just almost conducive to having a beer or two because how many bars there are near Fenway Park.
I hear you. I hear you. No doubt about it. So definitely going to be a fun weekend for those fans that are catching that always interesting series. And yeah, so that's going to do it for the Yankees here, Dan. Let's keep it going. Let's talk a little bit of Knicks and Rangers when we round this thing out. We'll start off with the Rangers, Dan, just because that's the big story. We'll wrap up talking the
Yeah,
Knicks and
the,
the continuing for the coach search. But as we
the,
learned the other day, the Rangers and the Anaheim Ducks were looking to work out this trade, and it came to fruition today as the Rangers have traded Chris Kreider and a fourth-round pick to the Ducks for prospect Carrie Terrence, who's a center that has pretty decent upside, and a third-round pick that Anaheim gives up. But the thing is, Anaheim also picks up Kreider's entire 6.5 million cap hit, which a lot of people were saying they weren't going to pick up the whole thing. I heard people saying 3.5 million. I heard people saying 4 million. But that's a really good thing that Chris Drury. Because look, if the Rangers traded Chris Kreider and they had to retain salary, that would have really just pissed me off. Because if you're still paying Chris Kreider, you might as well just keep him. So it's a good thing that even though they traded him, and obviously me and you, we saw the kid come up. I remember him getting drafted. I remember him making his NHL debut in the playoffs against the Ottawa Senators in 2012, and seeing this 20-year-old kid come in and score 7 goals on a postseason run that ended in Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Devils. So I'll never forget Chris Kreider being here. It's a sad thing to see him go up. And you know what, Dan? I'm sorry to ramble on here for a second, but I heard some Rangers fans talking this afternoon about how they don't think that Chris Kreider's number is going to be up in the rafters at Madison Square Garden because he didn't win a cup. And my question to them is, sure, we saw all the 94 guys, most of them for the most part, go up because they won the cup. But did Eddie Jockman win a cup? Did Rod Gilbert win a cup? No. And their numbers are up there. Chris Kreider is one of the best players the New York Rangers have ever had. And he's third in goals. He scored the most power play goals of all time. He scored the most postseason goals of all time. That number 20 is going to be in the rafters, whether everybody likes it or not.
yeah, I feel like that number is going to be retired. I feel like it's definitely got to be retired. It's a shame we never got to see him. We never got to see Chris Carter win the cup, and I'm kind of sad seeing this guy go because I was like, he became one of my favorites easily being here on this team. Everything, man, he's definitely one of the greats, and I'm bummed out. I'm bummed out the Rangers traded him, and I just hope we have something planned to
Yeah,
make this team a formidable, to make us a formidable opponent this year because I feel like it's we got to make ourselves a contender this year without a doubt. Mike Sullivan, this is a coach that wants to coach a contender. He came
yeah.
here because he expects a contender, and I'm hoping Chris Drury does the right thing because right now I'm scratching my head and I'm wondering what I. There's got to be some other move that's going to completely shock us during the off season.
Yeah, well, they're talking about a lot of things right now, Dan, because and as a matter of fact, actually, before we even move on to that, we got our buddy Alvalanker hanging out with us in the chat, and he says, "Hope the Rangers do something for Kreider in the future. Maybe sign him to a one-day contract so he can retire as a Ranger." Totally with you on that, buddy. And he even follows up with this, which I totally agree with. I know they did it because they needed the cap space, and I understand, but it still hurts and it reminds me of how I felt when Brian Leach got traded. That was a
Yeah.
bad day when Leach got traded to the Maple Leafs, and I totally agree. It's got that same feeling.
Yeah, I got that same feeling when I heard that news too when Leach got traded. That was a sad one too.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. We've seen it time and time again over the years as Ranger fans. We've seen Ryan McDonough get traded, a captain. We saw Ryan Callahan get traded, a captain. So we've seen a lot of these earth-shattering moves happen for the Rangers, and there's still more that can happen. And by the way, thank you, Alvalanker, for hanging out with us here in the chat today.
Yeah, and I'm almost for sure this is not a tanking season.
No, it's not a tanking season at all because right now, if Chris Drury thinks he'd survive a tanking season under James Dolan, he's out of his freaking mind because you have to just look at the Knicks and look at these knee-jerk reactions that our owner has that the Knicks wouldn't stand for that right now. I'm sorry, the MSG and the New York Rangers too wouldn't stand for that. And the next guy in the chopping block right now, from what I'm hearing, is Mika Zibanejad. And coming into this offseason, Mika said that he didn't want to waive his no trade clause, which he said, "Hey, we knew the deal when we signed it, and I'm not planning on leaving." But from things I'm hearing, with Chris Kreider leaving, I think Mika Zibanejad might be more open to waiving his no trade clause. And look, as much as I love Mika too, I definitely love Kreider more, but love Mika. Mika's had a lot of great moments. I'll never forget that 5-goal game he had right before COVID hit and everything. One of the most phenomenal things I've ever seen. So I still will always have a place in my heart for Mika Zibanejad. But I kind of feel like if you're getting rid of Kreider and his $6.5 million salary, I feel like if you have the opportunity to do it and get rid of Mika Zibanejad and his $8.5 million salary, you really should do it. Kind of like when you have to rip a Band-Aid off, you just do it real quick. Well, you just did it with Kreider. You might as well do it with Mika too. And let's get a fresh start. That'll be another $8.5 million you could use. And the word is too, the Rangers are looking to make a big deal. So I heard names like Jason Robertson from the Dallas Stars, who's a big name. That would be a big, big acquisition if the Rangers could pull that off. I've even heard to a lesser extent, it might start heating up more in the next couple of weeks. Even Austin Matthews, I've heard from the Toronto Maple Leafs, is very upset with the way that everything's gone there and that team's inability to advance to they've gotten out to the second round a couple of times, but they can't get to a conference finals. And this team just seems like it's kind of plateauing. So a lot of people are connecting the dots and saying maybe Austin Matthews would look pretty good in red, white, and blue.
Yeah, that would be a game changer. Austin Matthews on our team. That
Yeah,
holy smokes, that would be big. I have a feeling he would accept that trade on the spot to the Rangers. I feel like he would love that. A little bit more money in his pocket coming to America from being overtaxed in Canada.
that's true. But in New York, it wouldn't be that much better. But you are right. It would be better. That is
Yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, exactly. Plus that, I think he'd love to be back in America, being from here.
yeah, he's an American, no doubt about it. Even though he's become a Maple Leafs icon, um, they can't get out of their own way in the playoffs, and they finally have found a way to win the first round, but they can't get back to the conference finals. So it's a there's a lot of stress up there in Toronto because of that, and I think much in the same way that the Rangers are looking to shake their roster up this year, I think the Maple Leafs might be looking to do the same thing this year. Mitch Marner is a free agent, so There's a lot of stuff going around with that. So the Maple Leafs will look different next year. Now, I'm still saying I think that Austin Matthews is probably, unfortunately, going to remain in Toronto, but it's something that they're kicking around right now. And if we can't get Austin Matthews, I would love to get my hands on Jason Robertson from Dallas Stars. That would be an incredible
Yeah,
pickup.
yeah. I just have a feeling there's some big moves coming our way,
There's
without a
something,
doubt.
no doubt about it. Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be some big moves that are just going to hit us in shock, and
yeah,
hopefully it's the right moves that can handle being on this team and being on the Rangers, that could propel us, that could fit well with this team, and
yeah.
hopefully
And
get us over the hump. The other thing I'm anticipating is who's going to be in the booth with Kenny Albert this upcoming season.
that's true. That's true. It's going to be
Because I haven't
interesting.
heard announced.
No, I
I'm
heard it's going
here.
to
I'm
be
here.
Bobby. No, I heard it's going to be Bobby Holik.
That one I've never. I don't
It's
know much about as a broadcaster, but we'll see how that's
no,
going to
it's not
go.
going to be Bobby Holik. I was kidding. I just so it's not going to be him, the monotone Russian that they had 20 years ago. No, it's not going to be Bobby Holik. But they'll find somebody. So I have more than enough confidence in this team being able to put somebody worthwhile next to Kenny Albert.
Yep, exactly. And I'm eager to know who we're going to see in the booth on the radio booth. Whenever
Yeah,
any of us are listening to a Rangers game in the car, who we're going to know in the booth
that's true
for
too. No
radio
doubt
booth.
about it. All right, so all right, final thing here before we get out of here tonight, Dan. Let's talk about the New York Knicks and their coaching search for a second. We have heard the reports come out for the last couple of days now that apparently Kevin Durant was a name the Knicks explored at the deadline. It's a possibility they're still looking to get in that mix now, but you know when you take all the players out of it right now and you still focus on the coaching that that the Knicks are going to be looking for after firing Tom Thibodeau last week, um, it seems like they didn't really have a plan, and maybe we're misreading it right now. There's still a chance that's the case. The Knicks could possibly just be doing their due diligence as they've reached out to multiple teams around the league, and they have been shot down in every opportunity. The Dallas Mavericks, the Houston Rockets, um, you know, all these teams that the Knicks have reached out to see if they could speak to their head coach about the vacancy that they currently have turned them down. So the Knicks, you'd like to see a guy like Jason Kidd, not going to happen. You'd like to see a guy like Udoka, not going to happen. So when you turn to the names that the Knicks do have available, it's kind of underwhelming. But there's also one name too that's still hanging around. I haven't heard any official links to the Knicks at this point yet, but it's still being speculated. Maybe the Knicks will reach out to the Golden State Warriors about Steve Kerr.
Uh, that would be one that I feel could be very valuable as a coach. I feel like, and I'm just hoping it doesn't fall back to the very bottom of their choices for head coach.
I
Because
know
they
you
could,
don't want to be, yeah,
because I know this could be a disaster if they're stuck with a rookie coach. Which I'm hoping.
yeah. You don't want to be put in that situation like that. I saw a lot of people like Ron Artest and Marcus Morris throwing their hats in the ring to see if they could coach the Knicks. We don't want any part of that. I want a guy that's done it before. And, let's just hope that Leon Rose has a plan, because right now, from the outside looking in, it looks like the Knicks had no plan. And that's kind of distressing when it seems like Leon Rose has kind of had an overall pretty good plan. And that brings us to the question of, who do you think it was, James Dolan or Leon Rose? And I got to say, you hear Mike and the Mad Dog, who not together, separately, Mad Dog is 100% convinced that Leon Rose uh, is not the one that made this decision. And Mike Francesa has said over and over again over the last week that it had to be Leon Rose, because if um, if the owner, James Dolan, bought it in, Leon Rose would walk away. So that's what he's saying. And to be fair, Francesa does have good insight on the New York Knicks organization. but I still go with my gut, and I think it's Leon Rose. How about you, Dan?
Uh,
Uh,
I just think
I'm
so.
sorry. It was James Dolan. I'm saying. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I think it's probably Dolan, and I really question why do this. I
Yeah.
I question that. I feel like he should have left his hands in Leon Rose. I feel like there was momentum to be built keeping Tom Thibodeau as coach, and I'm hoping against hope that this doesn't kill the momentum this team has been gaining. Because
Yeah, man. I mean,
I feel like there's a shot to build on this momentum and propel it to the next step, and that's winning the whole damn thing.
yeah, we got 4 years of momentum that have been building up behind Tom Thibodeau, and we got our buddy PhD hanging out with us in the chat right now, and he made his thoughts clear that he thinks it's Dolan, and I'm right there with you, buddy. I think it's Dolan. It's got his fingerprints all over it, and he's 100% right. Only the Knicks would do this, and everybody's been saying too when you hear, um, you know, commentators and you know guys that are in the know of the NBA. I'm talking guys like Adam Shine. I'm talking Shams. I'm talking Woj. All these guys seem to think that the Knicks let Tom Thibodeau go at least 1 year early. And I can't disagree with that, man. It's kind of how I felt because the way I looked at it is the Knicks once again took a step forward this year. So you should give Tom Thibodeau this year to take it even a step further. And okay, if next season they don't get to the NBA finals because okay, we progressed to the Eastern Conference finals finally this year. If they plateaued and got back there and lost again next year, or got knocked off earlier, okay, totally understand you getting rid of Tibbs. But you have to at least give him that opportunity to get to the NBA finals, which they just didn't do. And now you got to keep your fingers crossed and hope that this is that you're able to lure a coach here that can do as great of a job as Tibbs did.
Yeah, exactly. And they better be able to get the job done. I'm hoping they bring in a coach that can get the job done. It's gonna be really interesting seeing how this turns out.
You got that right, man. And everybody here watching, you'll be able to watch it live with us over the next couple of weeks and months to see which direction the New York Knicks take. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us here on this Thursday night because I think that's just about going to do it for us tonight, Dan. And before we get out of here,
Exactly.
you have
And
like
then
to
there's
plug for
one thing.
yourself. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
there's one major thing I gotta say to all the fathers out there. Happy Father's Day, and a bit, and I guess Happy Father's Day to my dad. He's no longer with us. My father died when I was very little. I was like 4 years old when my dad died, and if your father is still alive, pay your dad a visit, and if your father lives too far distance from where you live, at least give him a phone call, FaceTime him, contact your dad, talk, let your dad know, let your father know that you remember that you haven't forgotten. Be sure to
Absolutely.
do that because
And shout out to your dad in heaven, and shout out to my dad right now, who's he's a great guy, he's a great dad, and he's going through it right now. But we're all there for him, and I love that guy. So happy Father's Day, Dad, and happy Father's Day to your dad too, Bobo.
yeah, exactly. And also, don't forget the dog dads. It's it. Trust me, caring for a dog is a very fatherly responsibility. Caring for a dog, I can tell you that. I can
That's
tell you
true.
that.
That's very true, my friend. So want to thank everybody here for hanging out with us here. Oh, and Dan, before we get out of here, anything like to plug for yourself?
Sure, my Twitter Bobo103NYC. You saw on the graphics there on the show. Also Instagram Bobo71DK. YouTube one word Daniel Curlin. Don't forget to subscribe to our Patreon where you get access to stuff like Trackside Minute where I wrap up all the NASCAR Cup Series action. Also get early access to my YouTube videos where you get to see my whenever I upload stuff on YouTube. You get to see it a little early. You get to see it like a week early. See my YouTube content. So you get to see that and you get to see that even the YouTube content that'll feature me and my co-host when when big moments happen that me and my co-hosts are present for. You get to see you'll get to see early access for those YouTube videos of those moments, and also more importantly, it's $5 a month, and it's a cost of a round trip on the subway, and you support our show, so it's a great deal overall on Patreon.
That's right, man. So I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us here on this Thursday night. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. And also, yeah, we got a great weekend too. So, great weekend of sports coming up here with the Mets and the Rays, Yankees, and the Red Sox once again. So we'll be back with you on Patreon on Sunday for our normal show. So if you want to, just jump in, as you can see on the bottom, patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast. And that's going to do it for us here on this edition of Best Seat in the House. For my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin, I'm Rob Kramer. This is the Best Seat in the House podcast, everybody. And we'll catch you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody, and happy Father's Day.
All right, push the button, Frank.